A true fan of their club, dear children, is someone who really wants to support and cheer on just one team. They choose that team either on their own or based on the fact that their father or grandfather used to support it. That's exactly how it was for Franz, whose love for the club was passed down through his family. He was already 65 years old and had been supporting his Bayern all his life. His grandson often came to visit him. His name was Bastian. He was only 7, but he kept asking his grandfather about Bayern. How long have you been a fan? How many of their jerseys do you have? Will you take me to a match sometime? That last question stuck in Grandpa Franz's mind. Bastian was exactly the same age when Franz first went to a Bayern match. Look, Basti, I think it's time. What time is it? Grandpa asked the curious little blond boy. It's time for you to come to the stadium with me for the first time, to experience what it feels like when Bayern scores a goal, when all those people in red jerseys are shouting and cheering. You'll see, you'll like it. Bastian was really looking forward to it, counting down the days until he and his grandpa would go. Then the day finally came. The two of them set off on the train first thing in the morning. Grandpa was wearing a red and blue Bayern jersey, a red hat with the club's emblem, and a black scarf with the letter B embroidered on it. Why don't you have a red scarf too, Grandpa? What's with the black one with the B at the end? I'll tell you that, my friend, is a scarf given to me by the great Franz himself, the best player who ever played for our club. He was also the best in the world. He gave me the scarf 50 years ago. I was 15 and cheering at the Bayern Stadium with my dad. After the match, he came right into the crowd. Everyone hugged him and someone hung this black scarf around his neck. He kept walking and walking, and when he passed me and my dad, he suddenly took off the black scarf and put it around my neck. That was something. I fell in love with it immediately, and since then, I've worn it to every match. When I'm very old and can't go to football matches anymore, I'll give it to you. Bastian listened to his grandfather's story and began to understand how important the scarf was to him. A few hours later, Grandpa and Basti arrived. "Whoa," the boy exclaimed. Suddenly, a huge red-lit stadium peeked out from around the corner. It looked like a big spaceship. Wow, Grandpa, it's beautiful. Wait until you see the inside. It can hold almost 80,000 people. That was such a big number that Basti couldn't even imagine it. First, his grandfather took his grandson to the fan shop. It's a shop in the stadium where they sell jerseys, scarves, caps, but also pencils and pillows, basically anything you can think of in the colors of your favorite club. Everything here had the Bayern logo on it. Grandpa pointed to a jersey with the number 9 on it. I'll buy you that one. It's worn by our new signing from England. His name is Harry. He's a striker and he'll definitely score the most goals of anyone. Basti and his grandfather had to wait in a long queue because everyone wanted this jersey. There were a lot of people in the shop, bumping into each other and pushing each other. After a while, they finally came out and Basti proudly put on the jersey. Fantastic. A Bayern fan wearing the exact same jersey with the number 9 called out to Basti. Basti gave him a thumbs up, as he had seen footballers do on television. After a while, they finally got to their seats. They were sitting just a short distance from the pitch. Basti felt like he was in a dream. It looked smaller on television. All around them were people in red Bayern jerseys, scarves around their necks, flags in their hands, singing various songs. Basti loved it and tried to sing along, even though he didn't know the songs at all. After the first half, Bayern was leading 2-0, and do you know who scored both goals? Yes, striker Harry. See, I told you he's the best. Grandpa smiled, feeling warm inside that he had proven to Bastian that he really understood football. "Grandpa, I'm hungry," the little boy said suddenly, pleadingly, rolling his eyes. "Come on, let's get some bratwurst." Basti had no idea what bratwurst was. He would rather have gummy bears, crisps, chips, or a classic hot dog. There were lots of people at the stall. On top of that, Grandpa dropped his change while paying, so Basti picked it up from among the fans. When he found all the coins, they started making their way back to their seats with the sausage in hand. Sometimes someone bumped into them, Sometimes they bumped into someone else. The main thing was that Grandpa held the sausage firmly in one hand and Basty's hand in the other. They got to their seats just as the second half of the match was starting. They both enjoyed the atmosphere and the sausage. Harry scored another goal. Hat trick, Basty shouted with joy. That's when someone scores 3 goals. You know, Grandpa, Franz knew, of course. But he was happy that his grandson knew too. Everything seemed great, when suddenly, Grandpa Basty cried, "Where's your scarf?" Grandpa looked at his shoulders with wide eyes and felt his neck with his hands. Sure enough, the scarf was gone. Franz doesn't have his scarf. Grandpa cried in alarm and began to get very nervous. He searched his pockets and even looked at other people's necks to see if someone had stolen it. Basty immediately knelt down and began crawling between the seats to see if he could find it on the floor. During his search, he found lots of beer cups, bags, and sausage trays. But the black scarf was nowhere to be found. When Basty got up, he saw how sad his grandfather was. Grandpa sat back down and hid his face in his hands. "We'll never find it among all these people, Bastian. Besides, the match is about to end and we'll have to go home." "That scarf is lost forever." "No way, Grandpa," said little Basty in a determined voice. "We still have time. We'll find that scarf." Grandpa looked at him, and when he saw how determined the little boy was to find the scarf, he decided not to give up. "All right, where could it be? Where were we before the match or at halftime? Now it's up to you, children. Will you help Basty find his lost scarf? Can you remember where Basty and his grandfather went? But hurry, the match will be over soon." Before the match, we went to the fan shop to buy a jersey, and at halftime we went to the stand to buy bratwurst. But where should we go now? We only have time to search one place. You choose. "Basty, the fan shop or the snack stand?" "The fan shop," said Basty decisively, and so they both headed there. Grandpa took Bastian by the hand, and they ran to the fan shop, which was quite far away. Basty knew they didn't have much time, but he really needed to pee. "Grandpa, we have to go to the toilet. Otherwise, I'll wet my pants." Grandpa Franz hurried, but when he felt how hard Basty was squeezing his hand, he realized that he really did need to go to the toilet first. Basty managed it quickly and even washed his hands. Finally, they arrived at the fan shop. First, they went to look at the rack with children's jerseys. They searched everywhere. Basty threw himself on the floor again and crawled through the racks, but found nothing. So Grandpa went to ask the saleswoman, "Excuse me, has anyone found a black scarf here, please? It had the letter be embroidered on one end." The saleswoman shook her head. "Unfortunately, I haven't found it. But now I realize that there was a black scarf lying on the floor for a moment before it was picked up by a fan wearing a Lewandowski jersey," she added. So Basty and his grandfather set out to find someone like that, even though the chances were slim. What's more, the match had just ended. Thousands of people got up from their seats and headed home. Grandpa lifted Basty onto his shoulders and he searched. Almost everyone was wearing Bayern jerseys, so it was difficult. But suddenly, "Look, Grandpa, Lewandowski." Grandpa Franz ran in that direction like a racehorse, and Basty urged him on from his shoulders. "Go, Grandpa, go." He even shouted "Hide" several times, just like a jockey at the races. Grandpa Franz ran in that direction like a racehorse, and Basty urged him on from his shoulders. "Go, Grandpa, go," just like a jockey at the races. Phew, Grandpa finally caught up with the man in the jersey in front of the stadium. Basty tapped him on the shoulder and the man turned around. But a red and white Bayern scarf was hanging around his neck. "Don't you have a black scarf?" Basty asked sadly. "No, I don't like black. I would never wear it. But the football was really great, wasn't it? Harry was on fire today." The man continued to talk enthusiastically about the match, not even noticing how disappointed Grandpa and Basty were. The scarf was nowhere to be found. There were a lot of people wearing jerseys with the name Lewandowski on them, and this guy just wasn't the right one. Grandpa took Basty off his shoulders and grabbed his hand. They sat down together on a bench. Grandpa was obviously sad. "This is the best day ever," Basty said suddenly. "The way you bought me the jersey, The way we saw the hat trick, the huge stadium, singing songs. I even liked how we tried to find your scarf. I'm sorry we didn't succeed, but at least we tried. I love you, Grandpa. Grandpa Franz looked at Basti. Even though he really liked the scarf, he liked Basti 1,000 times more. To hell with the scarf, he hugged his little grandson. I love you too, man. It was a great game. Long after the match, they sat there together and talked about what they had just experienced. Only a few fans were still standing around. Grandpa didn't even notice that he was sitting right by the stadium exit, so he was surprised when the gates suddenly opened and a huge red bus with the Bayern players drove onto the small road. Wow, Basti immediately jumped up and started jumping and waving at the windows where he could see the players' heads as he did so. He occasionally turned his back and pointed to the name tag and number on the jersey. And do you know what happened? You wouldn't believe it. The shiny bus with the words, "We are stopped," the doors opened, 1 foot. Then the other, one of the players came straight to Basti. The boy couldn't believe his eyes. Harry himself, "Nice jersey, kid," he said. "But it's pretty cold. You'd better take this sweatshirt too." Harry continued and began to take off his red team sweatshirt. Then he pulled it over little Basti's head, smiled, and added, "You'll grow into it one day. Thank you very much," Basti finally said. Harry high-fived Basti, nodded to Grandpa Franz, who thanked him from a distance, and returned to the bus. Basti turned and ran after his grandfather to the bench. Tears of happiness welled up in his eyes, and he had no idea what Basti was going to say. "Here, Grandpa, take this sweatshirt. Instead of the scarf you lost." Grandpa Franz stroked Basti's hair. "That sweatshirt is yours, Basti. I'm proud of you. You're a good boy." Then he put Basti back on his shoulders and they set off together for the train station. Basti kept rolling up the sleeves of the long sweatshirt. It was more like a nightshirt on him. Maybe he'll grow into it in a while. But what if Grandpa hadn't lost his scarf? What if they hadn't gone looking for it? Would they have sat at the bus stop, and would Basti have gotten a sweatshirt directly from Harry? Probably not. You never know what will happen. And even if something looks really bad at first, like losing Grandpa's scarf, it can end up bringing you something nice. Like a sweatshirt that Basti will definitely wear to the next Bayern match. He'll go out with Grandpa again. They'll have bratwurst again. It'll be just fantastic. And so ends our football fairy tale.